With that in mind, who's your biggest winner on field this week, walking away feeling different than they did a day ago?
This is someone that you know quite well, Joe. His name happens to be Justin Fields. And you're a Bears fan, and he had his struggles there for myriad reasons. And I think he shows up in Pittsburgh. The pressure's off because they signed Russell Wilson before Justin even arrives, and the expectations that Russell Wilson's going to be the quarterback. Russ hurts his calf early in training camp, and then the first 3 weeks, this is Justin's team. The first 2 weeks, no turnovers from Justin, and you lean on the defense, which is a great recipe for a young quarterback or even quarterback in year 4 or 5. And then this game at home, first home game of the season against the Chargers. It feels like the Spider-Man meme where they're looking at one another. It's the same sort of defense and run the ball a lot. And here's what we got from Justin. He threw the ball in the middle of the field for the first time in 2 weeks. We saw him make big plays to Calvin Austin and George Pickens. And he leaned on the run game, even though the run game struggled at times. It wasn't a first read isn't there, I'm going to run. Justin only ran the ball 1 time, I believe. And I give a lot of credit to Justin for playing within the offense. Defense gets a lot of credit every week. But also, I'm going to give some credit to Arthur Smith, the formerly fired Falcons head coach who struggled there in several years, had a lot of success in Tennessee, doing a lot of the same things we're seeing here. He had Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, and both those players obviously played at a high level on Arthur Smith, and he's sort of reinvented that here in Pittsburgh. And I was telling you earlier, it was hard to explain and get behind Kenny Pickett last year and Matt Canada. This is a lot easier if you're a Steelers fan, and it feels like Justin's playing with confidence. And you've seen Justin with confidence. He's a different player than when the chips are down. And I think this team, to your point, are they a playoff team? Maybe. Are they going to go far in the playoffs playing like this? Probably not. But I think they, once again, under Mike Tomlin, as the circumstances have changed in this post-Big Ben world, have evolved, and starts with defense, old school Steelers defense, but they're also winning with an incredibly athletic quarterback who has yet to reach his potential as a former first-round pick. And maybe, and we talk about this all the time with these young quarterbacks, fit matters. Yeah. This feels like a pretty good fit.
I may have jumped the gun in calling myself the winner because that felt like one big subtweet to me as a Bear fan. But I do love sitting next to you, Ryan Wilson.
Fair enough, thank you.
Let's talk about opportunity and fit, because this is a second lease for Justin Fields. But you also have Andy Dalton as a big winner on this day as well. I can't count the opportunities, but he surely took this one, walks away feeling like a winner this week as well.
Yeah, and we'll talk about losers in a second. I didn't mention Bryce Young as a loser, but for all intents and purposes, it's not a great day for Bryce Young futures. But I think Andy Dalton took advantage of an opportunity, and we talked about this earlier. He looks like the first overall pick with the way he played in that game on the road. The last 10 games on the road, the Panthers were 0-10. 8 of those games they'd given up, lost by more than 7 points. You did not see this with this Andy Dalton's Panthers team. Threw for over 300 yards. The one start he had last year when Bryce was hurt, he threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Raiders. This team was converting 9% of their third downs coming into this game through 2 games. They converted over 40% with Andy Dalton. And this looked like a completely different football team compared to what we saw over the first 2 weeks. You saw players that seemed excited about the change, about the opportunity to catch passes. Adam Thielen actually looked fast for the first time in 18 games. He blew a tire in the process of catching that fantastic touchdown pass. You saw Deontay Johnson go for 122. Deontay Johnson was catching balls from Ben Roethlisberger when he arrived in the league. He has never gone for 122 before today. We saw the excitement on the sidelines. It bled over to the defense, which has been a targeted unit through the first 2 weeks of the season, generating turnovers, forcing Gardner Minshew into mistakes. I don't know what other way to feel than elated if you're a Panthers fan, if you're a Panthers wide receiver, if you're Panthers owner David Tepper, who had Steph Curry in the actual box with him today. Another sort of nod at Bryce Young, this may be over. And it is completely different than what it was 48 hours ago when we heard Bryce explaining why he had to suck it up and find his way to the bench and find ways to get better. And we heard our Jonathan Jones report, and I believe him. The Panthers aren't done with Bryce. It is hard for me to imagine a situation short of injury where we see Bryce Young again.
We will see if this was just the bounce-off change, or if this is something that will continue for Carolina, a deficit at other places than just quarterback in that room. Everybody did take advantage of that rising tide that was Andy Dalton on this Sunday. I will mark down ricochet shots for both Musso and Young. Neither are considered losers
I'm
within
big
this
fans of both, too, incidentally.
That's good to hear. Your biggest loser who you want to speak directly to on this day?
Well, obviously, I'm a Steelers fan, and I speak on behalf of BMAC, but Cleveland, not great today. And Deshaun Watson wasn't necessarily the problem. That offensive line has struggled, and yes, they've had injuries. Coming into this game, they had given up pressures on 40% of the dropbacks. Today, against the Giants team that was on the road and has struggled for much of the season, they pressured the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, 42% of the time. So it was more of the same. Deshaun Watson took an absolute beating. I think he was sacked 7 times. The last 2 drives ended in loss of downs. They lost on. They couldn't convert on 4th down. Prior to that, they missed a field goal, and it felt like one thing after the next. I don't know where this team goes from here because Deshaun Watson, I don't think is the long-term or short-term answer. They are married to Deshaun Watson because of that contract. They lost Myles Garrett today because of injury. That's a huge loss. He's one of the best players in the NFL. And the loss to the Cowboys in Week 1, we thought maybe perhaps that was more Dallas than Cleveland. And then the Giants come in and do this to them. You can't feel great about that. And I was never really sold on the team. We had heard in the preseason that some folks thought that maybe this was the year that they finally put it all together. Obviously, for us, it starts with the Ravens and the Bengals, and then the Steelers are doing what they're doing at 3-0, which is somewhat surprising. This Browns team, to me, feels like they're wasting Kevin Stefanski, who came over from Minnesota, one of the best play callers we probably don't talk enough about. And they're also wasting Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator who did amazing things last year to help this team get to the playoffs with Joe Flacco, who's now in Indianapolis, and he can't come in and save the day in the final 5 or 6 weeks of the season. And I wonder if it's going to be a situation where owner Jimmy Haslam says, I need to start over. And again, you're wasting those the head coach / offense coordinator and the defense coordinator and Jim Schwartz. And then you're having to find a franchise quarterback. So I don't know where they go from here. I don't know how you fix this, but it feels like that, in the situation they find themselves, it's a long slog to get into the conversation where maybe this is a playoff team.
Still financially very much attached to Deshaun Watson in the starting quarterback. Not sure if you could find a willing trade partner there to try and make something happen, but there's money to be paid to that man who spent most of this day looking up at the sky, sacked for the most times in his career. And I will say, on behalf of Bryant McFadden, a rubber stamp on your biggest loser from Week 3. All right, time now for a little edition of That's My Guy. We're giving out game balls and continuing to build out our That's My Guy rosters. The floor is always yours. Who's your guy coming out of Week 3?
Andy Dalton, man.
Wow.
Andy Dalton balled out. And let me ask you this. What were your expectations going into this game? It was going to be better than Bryce because Bryce's game last week was straight up dog doo-doo. What were your expectations of Andy Dalton coming into this game?
Not this, but something in this neighborhood, because we've seen him do it for multiple different teams. It was a stat that's captivated me. Since Aaron Rodgers' last 300-yard passing game, Andy Dalton's done it 3 times for 3 different teams. Carolina, again, another instance of this. He seems to just take the opportunity and convince somebody that I am still a viable option in this league.
And we screamed about this watching all the young quarterbacks today. 1, 2, 3, get the ball out. 1, 2, 3, get the ball out. That's Andy Dalton's recipe for success. 1, 2, 3, get the ball out. You see it right there, and this is a fantastic touchdown catch from Deontay Johnson. But even in the flat, even in the quick game, even to his hot reads, it happened time and time and time again. Didn't make mistakes that crippled Bryce Young, not only the last 2 weeks, but all of last season, even under a different regime. This is a fantastic story. I don't know how far it goes, and to your point, maybe next week looks a lot like the Panthers we've seen over the last 18 games or so. But for now, it's their Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. Panthers fans should be happy.
Well, you're thinking Super Bowl in Week 3. I'm thinking Super Bowl down the line for my guy. My guy on this day, I'm assigning a head coach to this roster. Kevin O'Connell, that's my guy. In the last 329 days, Ryan, he has coached Kirk Cousins, Joshua Dobbs, Nick Mullins, and in this instance, Sam Darnold.
And Jaron Hall.
And Jaron Hall to victories in the National Football League. You know, this is a team that was written off by many, myself included, coming into this season. A win total of a scant 7.5. But how many wins is a head coach worth? Well, we're finding out in real time. Because a win over the Giants, yes, that's nice. Maybe a moment for Sam Darnold in the sun. But these last 2 weeks,
yes, sir.
Super Bowl contenders falling in lopsided games in that building. They take care of San Francisco, and on Sunday they take care of Houston. KOC, TMG. That's my guy.
QB whisperer, Brian Flores hirer, fit matters. And I think this is, Sam Darnold has to be elated. Vikings fans should be ecstatic. It's fun to watch.
It is, and we'll see where it can go for Minnesota, who is now alive not only in that division, but in that conference. Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell. That's my guy. We got more coming here on CBS Sports HQ. The league never sleeps. We got you 24/7, 365 in this game you love. Join us each and every day, all around the clock on CBS Sports HQ.